Okay, I just want to do a quick video about um, what to do when someone you're trying to learn a language, trying to speak that language. Let's say you're in the country where that language is spoken, and every time you go to speak the language, someone responds to you in English because they can tell you're not fluent in their language, and they just switch to English. And this is a problem for you because it means you can't properly engage with the language and really stifles your progress. And also, it's a bit annoying as well. Even if you're not an English speaker, this is a problem because English is a lingua franca in most of the world, pretty much all of the world. And so it's a problem that applies to everyone, not just native English speakers. So I suppose the third thing you have to realise, I guess, is firstly acknowledge the use that English has. In a way, it's very frustrating that everyone speaks English, but there are lots of advantages of it as well. So I guess there are swings and roundabouts to it. But anyway, as for what you can do about it, I think the thing you have to realise with this approach is the onus is very much on you to keep on speaking the language. And that also there's no reason for you to switch to English just because the person you're speaking to has decided to. I think that's the main problem with it. It's not that the person will switch to English, but then in response, the person who's trying to speak the target language, so you will then switch to English. Maybe out of embarrassment, you think, oh, I'm causing an inconvenience to this person, I'll just switch to English. But I think the thing to do is say, no, I don't care if it's a bit inconvenient, I'm going to keep speaking it. Because that's the only way you'll really learn, is if you just provide yourself with as many opportunities as you can. I remember I was in Italy, just to give my own experience, trying to learn Italian, and a lot of people would come up to me, a lot of Italians, and they'd want to speak in English to me. The Italians really seem to like English as a language, not only because it's useful, but they see it as very cosmopolitan and very, very hip, very cool. At least a lot of them do. So they're very keen to speak it anyway. And they'd want to practice their English with me rather than me practice my Italian with them. And they would explicitly ask that a lot of the time. But the reaction, the stance I had to take, really, I eventually realised, was I just have to say, no, I'm not going to help you practice your English. I've spent money to come to this country, taking time out of my life where I might be doing other things. So I really need to see a return on investment. So I'm sorry, if you want to learn English, first of all, your English is good enough anyway. You don't need to learn English anymore. I, on the other hand, I don't have very many opportunities to speak Italian. I've especially gone out of my way to learn this language. So I'm sorry if it's been inconvenient to you, but yeah, you're gonna have to put up with it, I'm afraid. Now, obviously, don't say it like that. I mean, you can if you want, but that should be the attitude in your head when someone tries to speak to you in English. You can come up with quite a lot of nice ways to phrase it as well. You could just say, but you speak Italian, why would you ever want to speak English, or something like that. You can dress it up however you want. There are lots of different ways to do it. But the main thing I'm getting at, guys, is just resist speaking English at all costs. Because eventually, particularly I found this with Italians, eventually if you just keep speaking Italian to them or keep speaking the target language, they'll just give up. Like, one of you is going to give up and just stick to the language at one point. And it's just your choice whether you give up to them speaking to you in English or whether they give up trying to speak to you. Wait, no, you give up speaking to them in the target language or they give up speaking to you in English. So that's how I'd frame it. I hope this is useful. I think it's a big problem that people talk about a lot. But no one really seems to be providing a solution to it. So that's been my perspective on it. I don't know if anyone has any other tips about it. I'd like to know, to be honest, because I think it's a good thing to be able to do tactically, to be able to stay in your target language as much as possible. So if anyone else has any other nuggets of wisdom on it, I'll be genuinely curious. And I suppose another thing is, this is a very language dependent problem. So with a lot of Germanic languages, like German, Dutch, the Nordic languages, everyone will speak English so well that probably the hardest thing by a mile about learning a Germanic language is being able to conquer this exact problem of speaking to people in Dutch or German or whatever it is. And that probably actually makes it quite a hard language, even though, apart from that, they're actually by far pretty much the easiest languages you could learn as an English speaker. Meanwhile, I think something like Chinese or Japanese is less of a problem. Not only because less people actually speak English in the first place, but often people in Far Eastern Asia aren't particularly willing to speak English, especially if you, I've never been to either of those countries, but I've heard anecdotally that even if someone speaks the language, even if someone speaks English in Japan or China, they'll pretend they don't a lot of the time, because they're very proud of their language and they want people to speak it. That's what I've heard. I don't know if that's true. So in a way, that actually makes speaking those languages quite easy because you have no choice but to learn it. So yeah, I don't know if anyone has any other experiences of that, of any kinds. I'd be very interested to know. Okay, let's catch you in a bit.